Good morning, everyone. The following is a video game review for the game Journey for PlayStation 3, which is bought off the PlayStation Network. The game comes to us from That Game Company and Santa Monica Studios, and of course it's published by Sony Computer Entertainment of America. Now, this game is the third game that they have made for the PlayStation Network. Third. However, this company, That Game Company, has made 4. The fourth is actually a free PC game you can download called Cloud. The games before this one were, of course, Flower and Flow. You will notice some similarities to Journey as it pertains to Flower. I'll give you an example of one. People have said that this game is on rails. Well, it is, but it isn't. You can explore the vast area that you're going into pretty much freely without a boundary. Well, there is one, and you'll know when you got to it because the wind will blow you backwards as it would if you hit the boundary in Flower. Another similarity is in Flower, when you activated certain types of flowers, you created certain things to happen. You cause certain elements to take place, certain events. In this game, when you activate what are called, when you activate these little cloth things, they shrink down, and they may let out a creature, which I'll get to that in a minute, or you may activate something that will allow you to be able to make it up into a area you previously couldn't make it to. See? Now, this game can be played in single player, much like Flower. But it can also be played in multiplayer, but you gotta be hooked up to the network for that. And I'm gonna assume that you're pretty much hooked up to the network because that's how you get to play the game, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on your way of looking at it. The multiplayer is done so differently than any other game possible. See, in today's game world, most games you're allowed to use, hold on, one of these. Or you're doing the typey type on the keyboard. Not this game. Among with other things, you're stripped of the ability to speak. The only thing you can do is chirp. You want to get the attention of a wayward adventurer, you hit a button and you make a noise with your signature glyph, which I'll explain that in a minute, popping up to tell your friend, yo, over here. I should tell you now, there are 2 different achievements, trophies, for the game depending on how you handle companionship. See, the first excuse me, deals with being able to take your partner and going all the way through the game from the time you meet that person to the time you make it to the summit. There's a trophy for that. There's also a trophy and by which does not have to be done in one playthrough, where if you can accumulate meeting 10 unique travelers, there's a trophy for that. That one's called Wonder. By the way, it's Wonder, not Wonder. The big question is how tolerant are you going to be of that person? This game will make you learn patience or impatience real quick. Because if you're like the person that just likes to plow through games, aka speedrun, and you're playing with somebody like myself who likes to take his time and observe the level he's in, you're probably just going to tell me to fuck off and go on your way. That's your right. You can do that. I can't stop you. Okay, I mentioned cloth creatures. Well, in the game, because we're in a desert setting, there are things that are apparently locked up in cages, which are, well, living, for lack of a better term. They are magic carpets that have a mind of their own. But they are going to help your ass because they will show you where to go. They can help you point out where a glyph is, or where a power marker is. That is exceptionally helpful. Why? I'll get to that right now. One of the really key elements of Flower was when you tagged another flower, you got that petal, and it, of course, daisy chain just kept growing. Same deal with this game, except it's not a flower petal. At the very beginning of the game, you're given a scarf to wear. How important is that scarf? Actually, more important than you think. See, it starts off about this short, but if you take the time to go search them out, you can find power icons, which makes it longer and longer and longer, which enables you to be able to fly farther. Oh, and by the way, not only is there an achievement for finding all the power icons, but there's actually a special suit you can wear for doing so. And I actually did meet one of those travelers in a mini trophy run I was doing just a bit ago. Person with a white robed figure. That's my first one I've ever met, but by the way, I'm quite kind of proud of that. There is an achievement for taking a break with the game, but you can just easily manipulate the clock and get your achievement that way. I did. There is also one in this game, much like in Flower, where if you just left the game going, but you didn't do anything, after pausing of course, you got a trophy for that. The catch is you have to have a buddy with you. When you hit the pause button, give it 20 seconds and you should unlock the trophy. The game is divided into levels. In theory, your level starts once you go past the past a altar that you encounter, and ends when you get to the next one. Or in the case of the beginning of the game, it starts when you get off your ass and start walking down the hill, and ends when you get to the first the first location of the first altar. The glyphs are really cool to find. Why? Well, if you find a glyph, they'll help you tell. It helps to tell the story involved in the game. And there is one, but you have to be willing to seek out the mural paintings, glyphs, whatever you want to refer to them, to be able to understand what exactly went on or is going on and why you're trying to make your way to this summit. Here's the really big kicker. This game, much like Flower, does have things that can hurt you. Unlike Flower, however, the enemies are more physical than they are elemental. If you've played Flower, and I know there's people that have, you know the Ruined City level, right? Well, the trophy, which I've never been able to get, but a friend of mine has, called the Pure Trophy, involves from going to the start to the end without getting singed and being able to make it to the end with all your flower petals intact. Not easy, and I'm still waiting for Derek to tell me how the fuck he did it. Well, there's a trophy like that in this game. It's called Trials. Let me tell you about this beast. And that's actually a hint. See, one of the levels in the game is called the Underground Passage. Okay? When you get to the Underground Passage, and this is a mini spoiler, but this is just for the trophy, so I figure I'd explain it to you. There's at least 2 or 3 creatures blocking your way to get from point A to point B. Your objective? Simple. Get from the start to the end without them hurting you and ripping your scarf in half. If you can do that, you have the trophy. I'm here to tell you, I didn't do it. I am going to try again though. There's also a trophy that involves skiing. Well, sand surfing. You have to surf through 15 gates. And if you can do that, you get a trophy. So there's a lot of like miscellaneous stuff you get to do on your journey. Some of it's really fun, some of it's intense. But it's all put into a neat little package. I should mention this also. I don't know what they did graphically to make the sand look like sand, because I'm telling you, when you first start the game and you look at the ground, you're thinking you like morphed your room into like the Sahara Desert. And this is even more evident when you go do the sand surfing segment later in the game. The reason is, well, because the camera work, which by the way is, I don't know how they did it, but they managed to get it so instead of the camera being, behind your character like this, it actually pans like this. So like, here's your character and here's the camera, and it's just like giving you a profile view. Which I think is really cool and makes the ride all that more damn exhilarating. Now I spoke about the camera. Is that an issue? It can be if you're really trying to look for the glyphs or the power upgrades. Because sometimes you may see it, but trying to figure out how to get up there because of the way the camera's positioned behind you may be a bit of a bother for some people. Now I should mention, when you're airborne in the flight way, you can use the 6-axis, which I actually do kind of like. You can also hold down the X button to make sure that you're flying as high as you want to. But you have to be careful because that power does go down. Oh, I should mention how that's replenished, shouldn't I? Okay. You remember I mentioned about cloth creatures, right? Okay. Well, through the course of the game, when you have your scarf, you'll find these little pieces of fabric. When you touch them or summon them, they wrap around your vagabond, as we'll refer to them, and they recharge the power of his scarf, however long it is. So if it's a really short one, it's not going to take that long, but if it's a long one, goddamn, you're going to be a while. Well, there is another way. Remember your buddy I was telling you about? Hang out with him. No, literally. As long as you're touching that person, I know it sounds weird, but just bear with me. As long as you're touching, the scarves regenerate. Oh, there's one other way also. If you can get the white robe ability, the scarf auto regenerates, which is really cool. So if you and your buddy, if your buddy is the white robe guy, here's what I would do: hang around him, because you know you're going to need you're going to need the flying ability for certain objectives, and trust me, it's not an easy one either. Some of them aren't easy. I really enjoy the game, though. I have to tell you. Now, here's the big thing. It's about a 2-hour game. 2 to 3 hours, depending on how fast you really want to go through it. It's $15. But do not let that be a deterrent. Because I'm promising you this. You play the game, you're going to want to keep playing. Even after you beat it the first time, you're going to want to see how many more people you can meet and how many more friends you may be able to make along the way. But I know what you're thinking. How am I going to know who I met? I mean, we have no name, right? You're right and you're wrong. You're right in the sense that, technically speaking, you have no name while the game is going. When you complete the game, however, by completing I mean beating it, after the end credits, stick around, because it literally will have this thing that says companions met and give you a list of everyone you've met on your journey. Now, you may only have the one that you hung out with all since the beginning of the game, or you may have met 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll keep going. But that's the fun of the game. How do you want to go through it? Do you want to meet a bunch of people? Do you want to hang out with one guy? What do you want to do? The ending of the game, I'm not going to tell you about. I made that promise to myself. See, I intentionally told you about the one trophy, just so you know what to expect if you go for it. But I'm not going to give you the ending to the game, because when you see it, I want you to have the same reaction that I did when I saw it for the first time, which was the following: what the fuck? My mouth was dropped, my mind was blown, and I was spellbound. Hell, I was spellbound the whole game, the whole time I was talking to the TV screen, because I see my buddy running ahead of me going, "Where the hell are you going, man? What are you looking for? Oh, you found that? Cool, let me see it." And I go over there and I find one. "Oh, you found one of those? Bitchin'! Cool." Do I advise everybody on the PS3 to take the journey at least once? Sure. Doesn't take much memory on your PS3 anyway, so if you don't like the game, just delete it. I will tell you one thing though also. This game was one of the first games in PlayStation's pre-order system. If you pre-ordered it, which I did, you actually got a theme for your PlayStation. And if you're a PlayStation Plus member, you also got a really cool avatar to go with it. As I mentioned, it is a short game, so some people look at that as a minus. And the camera may be a little bit meh if you're not big on third-person games. I promise you though, the camera makes up for it when you're doing certain things like the sand surfing, or hell, even the end of the game. But again, I'm not going to tell you about that. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the question. Are you ready to take a journey? Because if you are, you may learn some things about yourself that you didn't realize before. You may realize that you're a social butterfly and you like to hang around a group of different people. You may realize that you want just that one person to hang out with the whole time. Or you may say fuck off and go do your own thing and just go on your own solo mission. See, the journey is more than just a game. It's in some ways an examination of you as a person. The way I look at it. The way I look at it, when I got my 6 people on my journey, my first journey, I thought that was pretty cool. I wish I wrote down all the PSNs too. The chances of you meeting the same person twice, slim and none. Slim's walking out the door. But the reality is, the more people you meet, the more fun you might have. Or you may realize you're more of a social outcast than you've intended all your life. Now, I do apologize for this long-winded review, but it needed to be done. This game deserves a review as in-depth as this one. Let's do it this way. Gameplay, on a scale of 1 to 10, get to 10. Controls are as cool as hell. You got your 6-axis, got your ability to jump, got your ability to fly, got your, your ability to do sand surfing. Really cool stuff. Graphically, it is the single most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. Well, I've seen anyway. So that obviously gets a 10. Somebody says to me, camera work. Well, I've already mentioned my little issue with it, but it is corrected when it does what it does later in the game. So let's say we give that 9.5 just to be fair. Replay value. You'd think for only a 2-hour game, it's $15 a pop. That's not a high replay value. Oh no, it is. Because here's the thing, pal. Even if you do all the trophies, you may still want to go play the game just to see who else you can meet on their journey and help them later on. That's the point. This is a social experiment as much as it is a video game. It's also a piece of fucking art. And no human being alive that owns a PS3 should go without playing this game. Ever. Like I said, if you don't like the game because it was too short, okay, you're out to $15, but you know what? At least you tried it. That's all I'm asking. Try the game and experience it for yourself. You may have the same reaction I have. Holy fuck. Later, gang.